With all the stem separation plugins that are out like Serato, RipX, Fader, and even FL Studio, I made this came up with my own workaround for having stem separation on the MPC. But you're going to have to stay tuned into the end because in today's video, we're going to be learning how to sample from our phone. And I'm going to be going over the sampler and sharing its features and how you can use it to your advantage, along with some tips that I like to do. The first thing that you're going to need is Y cables, and they call this Y cables because of how the cord is shaped, as you can see. And this is two mono signals, 1/4 inch, going out to a stereo out, which is a 8-inch, which is like a headphone jack. And if you have an iPhone, you want to have this dongle attached. I will have the links of the equipment that I use in the description. These are Amazon link at no additional cost. It just helps support the channel. But for a quick disclaimer, it won't be these same cords because these cords I actually got here in Thailand from a music shop, so this is their brand. I feel like if you spend anywhere from $10 to $20, you could get a decent cord that will last you some kind of time. Like if you want to go crazy and get like the $30 or $40 one, you know, you can do that, but I don't think you have to get that crazy. I would not pay less than 10. I feel like paying less than 10 is kind of more on the cheap side, so the quality might not be the best. So now all you have to do is just plug these into the in, which is right next to your SD card, right next to the MIDI out. You're going to see that it says left and right, and you're going to also see that it says in on the top. So mine's are labeled. So I put the right at the bottom and I put the left at the top. And you can see I'm on the Drake Girls Want Girls track. I like that track, but I really like towards the end and I want to sample that in. So the first thing you want to go to do is go to menu and go to sampler. Now there's also shortcuts to get to the sampler. You could double click on mix and then there you have it. You could also go from menu to pad 16. There you have it. You could also do shift and mix. So it's just whatever works with your workflow. Just starting at the top, you have your tuner. I don't find it to be that great and I rarely use that. And then you have your segments, like you could change the amount of bars to what part of the song. Then you have your inputs. As you can see, you switch your different inputs. You can also resample and then sample your beat into this, which can be convenient. And then you can change your outputs from stereo to mono. We're just going to skip past the insert part for right now. And then that brings us to our threshold. And I'm going to explain why you would want to have it up versus why you want to have it down as well. And then where it says off, you want to turn that to in. Having it on in is now where you can monitor it so you can hear it from your speakers, or if you have headphones, you will hear it. I'll just play it real quick.
Yeah, say that you a lesbian, girl, me too. Hey, girls want girls.
Yeah. So I ain't gonna play too much of it, but you can hear that. And then it comes to over here, we have the timer of our sample, and then you have the arm button right there to record in, and then you have the max length. So yours is probably gonna be a bit lower. It might just start off as a minute or wherever it's at. You can make it longer by using the Q links. As you can see, I just used the Q links for the minute, and the fourth knob will be the seconds. So you could go to the top of the Q link and you can also see that you can control the threshold, you can control the minutes and the seconds. Then it brings us to the bottom 4 sample methods, which is sample, slice, pad tap, and pad hold. And they all have its own unique way of using it. Now I could get into showing you that. Starting off with sample. Sample is pretty much you just hitting a pad and then you just letting the song play out and it's gonna be on that pad. So what we can do is arm it, and then right here it says waiting for signal. So based on where your threshold is at, I could just press play and then it would trigger by itself. But look what happens when I press play and the threshold is at the top.
Hey, well, girls want girls where I'm from.
You can see that it's not starting. So if you've been wondering like why when I press arm, it's not just coming in. Your threshold has to be low enough to where it goes past the threshold and then you can start hearing it. And then it would trigger it to arm it. So now when I press play, look what happens.
All the things going my way.
And then now you can see you can save your sample. So I could just name this Drake, press do it. You have the option to choose which program, but since there's only one active program right now, it's only giving me that option. I could choose which pad it goes on. I could discard it, meaning that I could start it over. I could keep it. Keep it means that it's just going to go back to the sampler screen. Edit means that it's going to go to the edit screen, which is your sample edit. And you can also play it. and you can also save it. So I'm just gonna hit edit just to show you how it looks. So then, you know, now that it's in the sample edit, you could just do your thing. You know, you could change the tuning of it. So I could be like, bring this in. Yeah, and then, you know, you can just make your own thing from there. So let's go back to the sampler and remember, double click on mix. That's pretty much the sample. It doesn't get any simpler than that. Like if you want to sample a whole 2 minutes of the song or even a whole track, it's just going to go to one pad only. The next one is slice, but we're going to get back to that one because that is actually my favorite one. But now we're just going to skip over the pad tap. Now pad tap is convenient because let's say you have some drums and you can see right here it's more highlighted in yellow while the other ones is kind of blinking. Now be careful, you don't want to hit any of these pads right here because it's going to override it with the sample. So if you have your kicks right here and you hit right here, it's going to put the new sample right here. And I'm going to show you that in a second. So you want to start anywhere from right here or up here, any other pads that are available. So now with the threshold being down, I can play the song. It's going to start by itself. Now, let's say you don't like that. So at times I like to have my threshold up. So what I can do is just hit arm. Now, when I press play, it's not going to start until I hit the pad. And let's just do that real quick. So now that's why I like that way sometimes, because I don't want it to just start as soon as I press it. I want to just be able to come in at my own time. And with pad tap, it goes straight to the program. So that is convenient. So now it's like. So as you can see, I was trying to hit this pad right and it was cutting off each other. Now, if you don't want to cut off each other, all you have to do is go to pad menu 14. Somehow it switched all the way to 32 mute group. If it's still cutting off, just make sure you just have your mute groups off. I'm not sure why that just did that. But I think what happens is when you do pad tap, it's going to make individual mutes so it could cut off by itself. It could be convenient in some ways. But I'm going to just go through and just put those all to off. Now, I kind of did it the long way. What I could have had done was just go to the middle and select all. And from all, I could have just have the mute groups off. So now they won't cut off each other. You get the point. And then you could go back in, let's say you did wanted to just mute some parts. Now everything is selected. So you gotta go to the select tool and just go to current. Put it on 1. Hit this pad, put it on 1. Hit this pad, put it on 1. So now when I'm doing my drums, the pads will cut off on each other, but it won't affect my drums. That's pretty good. That could be a unique workflow in itself. And then you can also just hit a pad, go to the sample edit, and then go to programs, and you could fix the slices too. So it don't have to just be that. I could do it like that. I can extend it however I want. Next, that brings us to pad hold, and that sounds self-explanatory. Another thing that I forgot to mention was the levels coming in. Let's say you had your phone turned down, that's the input, and then look what happens when I bring it up. So you could bring in the record levels by using your phone, but if that's not enough, there is a record knob right here that you can turn up to also bring up the levels. So let me know in the comments, do you like to have your threshold up so that you can record on your own time, or do you like your threshold down? When you press play, it starts to record. Let me know in the comments which one is more convenient for you. I held that one a bit longer, and then I could go to sample edit, hit the pad. You can see that one is longer than the other one. It's a bit different from pad tap because pad tap is kind of like a one-shot thing. You can hit it and it's still going to play throughout until you hit the next pad. So it's just more of a preference at that point. Some people like to hold down the pads and then stop it and go to another thing. that could be convenient too, because let's say if you was using pad tap, but you didn't want to sample that other part and you just wanted to wait until the next part come and then you just sample that in. Pad hold will be convenient for that. So slices essentially is the same as pad tap. Like all these features are really similar to each other. The only difference with slices is that it's going to go to its own program. So usually when I'm chopping up my stuff in sample edit mode, like let's say I want to chop this up, right? And I go to chop and then I go to shift and convert. It goes to new drum program using slices. So all the slices that I made from this sample will go to a whole new program. It's the same thing when it comes to using slice. So let me just play that for you. So then I'm gonna just call this Claro, press do it. Now you have the choice from non-destructive, slices, and pad parameter. Create, this means create the new drum program. So if I press create, then look what happens, you know. Then I just play my pads right here. Why is it my kicks? Because I have to switch over to the next program, which is called Claro. So now I have my chops directly on to a whole new program. Now I'm gonna just show you some techniques on what you can do with your samples coming in. Let's go to insert. Insert is where you could apply effects now. I could even throw on a reverb coming in. So now when I play it, and you can get very creative just by doing that, man. I could throw in a delay pro and you can record it just like this too. That might be a cool effect that you could have just sampled just right there for the end, like dun, 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 like for a transition. And then another cool thing, go to modulation, go to half speed, something like this. This would be good on like fast melodies, like let's say you want to sample some Mozart stuff and throw on a half speed effect and just sample it in just like that. Now for my stem separation workaround, you may now see what I'm about to do. And we can go to one of my favorite EQs that I like to use to take out drums, which is Air EQ. Let's say you just want the lows. The lows only will work really well. I could change the frequency. Let's go a bit down so we could just only hear the bass. So you could get creative like that. You could do mids only. So yeah, that's just a quick workaround that I thought about. I'm like, hey, you know, I'm not comparing that to Serato or FL Studio or anything like that, but when you're just trying to create, you don't want any kind of resistance, because then you just let time get into the process, and we all know when time gets into the process, it kind of just interrupts the flow. So that's pretty much it for this video. But now that you have your samples, you got to know how to chop it up. So if you don't really know how to chop, or you're looking for new ways to like chop up your samples, I have a video right here that you can watch next to improve your chopping techniques. So thanks for watching, and peace.